What up, YouTube? This is Steven Tower. This is TalbyReacts. So today I really wanted to talk about this news that recently came out that Disney was considering doing a streaming platform, mainly in Europe. There's no plans currently for it to go to the United States, but they want to release this big I think it's called Disney Live, which is basically where people can basically come and stream any Disney movie on their streaming platform. But although it does not include Marvel or Star Wars, and so really kind of go to my point is it makes me interested. Could Disney start developing a streaming platform altogether, and basically leaving Netflix out of the picture? Because I honestly think one of the biggest companies that could go to battle besides like Amazon would be Disney. And I think Disney has all the tools and all the things to do it kind of, nicely. Because if you think about kind of Disney's entire library, Disney pretty much owns ABC, it owns ESPN, it owns, the Disney movies, and Star Wars, it owns Avengers, it owns a lot of things. A lot of very delicate, interesting things, even ESPN. And so, to me, where it's interesting is, if you look at Netflix as a whole right now, look at all kind of the Disney movies that are on Netflix, there's not really a lot of, what I've noticed kind of if you look at in regards to Disney and kind of even Avengers and Star Wars, there's not A tier type stuff. You don't see Aladdin, you don't see some of the thoroughbred type Disney movies that, that are deep in the vault of Disney. And so it makes me wonder, what will Disney ever do with that, kind of some of those movies. And so, what makes perfect sense is, what if Disney decided to do their own streaming package, which said, will allow you to hit, to see any Disney film that is no demand, whether it's done by Pixar, it's done by Disney, Aladdin, Bambi, Dumbo, Rescue Down Under. There's so many different Disney films that you gotta love. The Incredibles, Toy Story, the list just goes on and on. Add that to a streaming site, initial streaming site. Then, if you could do it, add possibly the two biggest other franchises, which is the Marvel franchise, and add those lists of movies. Because if you look, kind of currently what's on Netflix, of course we have the Avengers movies. I think I've seen the first Avengers movie, and the second one will be there shortly. I have no problem seeing that movie on Netflix. Iron Man's been on there. Although I don't remember any time a Captain America or a Thor movie has been on Netflix. I don't per se remember that. And so why not add the entire category, the entire Marvel set of movies onto this Disney platform as well. And then the most valuable of those is the Star Wars, of course. If you look for streaming Star Wars, that is intensely hard. You cannot find it, at all. You cannot. Netflix has never had Star Wars to begin with. And then Netflix, and also if you look even on Amazon, I think I've heard you would pay upwards to $20 or it's a pretty steep penny to rent a Star Wars movie for you to watch. And so there's no place to kind of actively stream Star Wars, which is kind of, I would almost say it's a sin. It's flat out ludicrous that you cannot stream Star Wars, whether it's the really bad first three films or the greatest three, the 4, 5, and 6. And so I would love to see those streamed. And so first, getting all those movies to be able to stream and do that. But I think where it's more lucrative, and this is where I think it could be interesting to see if Disney would straight up challenge Netflix, is with Netflix. If we look recently this past year, Netflix has made a movie, has partnered up with Disney to make the new Daredevil show. Daredevil show was a straight to Netflix TV show that they made in partnership with each other. And what's interesting about that is no one really knows kind of the numbers per se in terms of the viewing numbers of Netflix and how valuable that is, other than Disney, because I would think Disney would know how much that show was gauging, and that would point them, and they would understand, like, man, if we decide to develop television shows just like this Daredevil show, we could, probably get those numbers. We'll definitely for sure get those numbers. And it would be interesting to see if they would decide maybe not to put, A-class heroes, but a little bit better than Daredevil in television. And so that would be very intriguing to me. And that's where I think is a possibility where they could definitely hurt. They definitely could put hurt Netflix's bubble in terms of making television, for sure. And so, like, what's more interesting is not even the Marvel side of things, it's the idea of Star Wars. Like, I remember for like the longest past couple of years, there's always has been a rumor of Star Wars having a live action television TV show. Them, putting the Star Wars universe into a live action. And, you would make it probably definitely not line up with the story. It'd probably be like, for instance, like with not the Knights of the Old Republic, which is a video game. They did it a couple hundred years before, all the stuff that took place. Doing something like that, having the same universe to play, like instantly, if Disney decided to do that and putting on their streaming channel, they would have something as great as Game of Thrones. I would literally say that, because everybody and their mother, if we already see this Disney hype with this movie, with episode 7, I would think a TV show would it wouldn't draw as much hype as that, but it would get a lot of people, like, they would want to see it. And I would think you would get more than that, that niche crowd. And so I think that is kind of the ace in their sleeve is, we could always develop a Star Wars TV show. Where also I see that's really interesting about them having a streaming platform that is kind of related to television is the fact that what if they had these shows that do all right on ABC, but they weren't killing it, not knocking it out of the water. But what if they decide we could take those and put it on our streaming platform, and they can continue kind of post their life on ABC and put them on the streaming network. And then that can almost carry a life to each other. If you look at certain TV shows that went from like big networks to even now they're getting streamed across these platforms, they almost some of these things get like an entire different life from that. And I think there's a possibility that could definitely happen. That would be very intriguing to see Disney do something like that. And so like this entire idea of like Disney doing streaming, I think it's realistic. I think it's a very possibility that they could definitely hurt Netflix. Although in the end of the day, I think Netflix is really powerful right now, and I think they're at a good position where they want to be. Although it's worth noting that I read an article that it said that Netflix has recently agreed with a deal with Disney where I think most of the newest movies in the next couple of years will be on Netflix, and so that's definitely worth noting. Like, if Disney was going to decide to get into streaming, that could definitely kind of stall it for right now. And so, but I just want to kind of bring this idea of Disney starting their own streaming platform. What do you guys think about it? Do you think it's a possibility? A lot of different people are thinking about this, not just Disney. Who else would be a dark horse contender of doing something what Disney is doing? And what do you think about Disney's relationship with Netflix? I'm always interested in this type of thing of streaming and stuff like that, having to deal with the internet. I just want to thank you for watching this video. Hope you liked it. I hope you liked kind of my ideas about Disney maybe starting a new type of thing, because I think it's very intriguing. And thank you. And have a good day.